Thank you for joining us. I know I personally need to take a collective breath. After watching that, I was getting a little emotional. My name is Roe. I am the policy manager at IF, a Foundation for Radical Possibility. And we are a private racial justice funder based in DC, and we serve the DC region. We specifically fund Black self-determination, as well as supporting power building for folks of the global majority. Let's Go DMV specifically fits under our economic justice pillar of work that I have the privilege of leading and working on. Before we formally get into the panel, I do have a little housekeeping. Margarita will be speaking in Spanish during the panel discussion, and we will have translation provided after she speaks. A translator will have the microphone to translate into English. All right. So first, I wanted to start off by thanking the Let's Go DMV pilot participants who are here, including Margarita, V, Fabienne, I think I saw earlier, the Rock DC family. Thank you for sharing your stories because you didn't have to. And it's such a gift. I'm so grateful for the space that you've allowed us to witness. So thank you. Also, I want to give special recognition to the co-CEOs of IF, Hanley, who supported this work from the beginning, and also Timmy Bennett, who's not here tonight, who's also the co-CEO of IF, a Foundation for Radical Possibility. They've made deep investments into the pilot, and it wouldn't be possible without their leadership, so thank you. What you heard tonight was a collection of stories about real people, right? And in a time of misinformation and erasure of our history, I think it's important to say that these stories are our responsibility to protect, and it grounds us in reality of what's happening and what's true. So today's conversation, we're going to go into a little deeper into lessons learned, specifically celebrating the work that's happening in the region, and also we're going to reflect on some themes that came out of the film as well. I'm joined by Margarita, who will be introducing herself as well shortly, Melody Webb, who is the founder and executive director of Mothers Outreach Network, and also the fierce leader of the DC Guaranteed Income Coalition. You'll also hear from Tonia Wellons in the middle, who is the president and CEO of the Greater Washington Community Foundation. So let's get started, y'all. Please introduce yourself and share something that particularly stood out to you from the film. And I'll start with Margarita.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Margarita Crespo. Vivo en Washington, D.C. por más de 20 años. Es importante contar mi historia para mostrar una realidad que muchas personas de bajos recursos vivimos al llegar a este país. Mi experiencia de ser parte del GO DMV, mencionado un ingreso garantizado, al principio no creía y pensaba esto es demasiado bueno para ser verdad. Este ingreso me ayudó a cubrir muchos gastos familiares como renta y alimentos para mi familia. Justo en ese tiempo quedé desempleada.
Okay, the translators.
Good afternoon. My name is Margarita Crespo. I've lived in DC for more than 20 years. It's important for me to tell my story to share the reality of people with low resources in the DMV. So my experience with Let's Go DMV and the Guaranteed Income Project was too good to be true. It helped me cover a lot of family expenses, especially during a time in which I was unemployed.
El ingreso garantizado me salvó de quedarme sin comida y sin pagar mis gastos de vivienda y de todo lo de la casa. Y a todo esto sería muy importante que este programa de ingreso garantizado continuara, ya que pues es una ayuda demasiado grande y buenísima para todas las personas de bajos recursos, como soy yo una de ellas.
This guaranteed income project saved me during a time where I didn't have enough money for food, and it helped cover the basic expenses that I had. This program was so important, this guaranteed income project, because it was guaranteed help, a huge help that was so important for so many people, and I was one of them.
We're good, thank you. Estamos
Okay,
bien.
you're finished? Okay, thank you, Margarita. Okay, I will go to Tonia. Please introduce yourself and share something that stood out to you from the film.
Good afternoon, everyone. Very nice to be here. So, first, I think the film is incredibly well done. So, congratulations to our team, our colleagues at IF for producing such amazing work, as they always do. But it did take me back to the beginning. I'm very proud to have been a funder and partner to the Let's Go DMV table from the start. And what the film doesn't tell you are all the things that we had to learn, and I imagine that many of you have had similar experiences when you're putting together a pilot. You know, all of the legal requirements, all the considerations in design, working out the agreements between the partners, raising the money to be able to support the work, considerations around loss of other benefits when guaranteed income is offered or made available. You know, we spent countless hours trying to make sure that we were designing and preparing a program. If you would appreciate, we started in 2021. Was it 2020 or 2021? Somewhere around there, yeah. 2020, yeah. So all the things to get to this this point, and I'm just appreciating, you know, looking at our work, the impact that it has had, and just recognizing that it's all worth it. So thank you for that.
Hi, I'm Melody Webb, Executive Director of Mothers Outreach Network, and I've had the privilege of working with colleagues here on the stage on the DC Guaranteed Income Coalition. And what really struck me about the film is just the trajectory and showing where the need arose and how the pilot came into play, and then moving, of course, which is what we all want, to policy. And then I, just really think it was beautifully done. Narrative change is so important, and I think this film is really going to change the narrative. Thank you.
Thank you. And the film, for me, what was amazing about this process was, Margarita, your willingness to share your story in this moment is so powerful, and I hope you know that. And I know you know that, especially in a time of mass deportations, right? The rise of military forces on people and protesters. Telling the truth in this country right now is something that's threatened, right? So why in this moment was it important for you to share your story, Margarita?
Es importante para mí compartir mi historia, como lo mencionado, de que somos los que menos tenemos voz y nos gustaría ser escuchados en la forma de que, y siempre tiene que haber alguien que tome la decisión de hacerlo. Gracias al grupo Let's Go DMV que nos invitó a hacerlo, y no tengo temor, sino que tengo fuerza para poder hacerlo y ser voz para otras personas, como siempre me ha gustado serlo.
More than anything, it's that there is somebody that will take the decision to do so, and somebody that will listen to us. It's the organization Let's Go DMV that invited us, so I don't feel fear. I feel a strength. I try to be the voice to others.
Thank you, Margarita. Speaking truth to power. Thank you. So in the film, there was a part where you saw the Wilson building, which is our city government building, which is literally across the street from here. And at the time, we were advocating for expansion of the child tax credit. We were advocating for expansion of guaranteed income policies. And now, literally, there was hearings today happening with those programs being possibly cut out of DC's budget completely. So my next question is for Melody. Melody, I'm wondering, given the current shift, how do you continue to be creative with the DC Guaranteed Income Coalition in your approach to advocacy? And also, what makes your approach unique to DC and the region?
Yes, so as you explained, the tide has turned, things have reversed, but not just for us, of course, for many. We were pushing for an expansion of the historic local child tax credit here in DC, which was available to people who have no earned income. We have historically used very creative strategies. We've really been focused on mobilizing people who are impacted. So a lot of my colleagues here in the room, very excited, moms and hospitality workers in the Let's Go DMV pilot. We brought together two groups that perhaps don't typically work together, low-income and no-income Black moms in Washington, D.C., and restaurant workers across the spectrum. And we are, we've been very excited and excited to continue to work in that manner. We recently changed our approach or shifted somewhat, and decided to not only organize within lower income and underrepresented communities, but to take our work out to more affluent parts of Washington, D.C., and put on something of a listening tour. So we are, really trying to shift the strategy, build our base, expand our base, and we think that's important, and that's what's happening around the country in response to the unprecedented political times we're living in.
Thank you, Melody. And to add to that, when we were talking a little bit, you mentioned specifically the importance of executive support here. And that unfortunately, Mayor Bowser has yet to sign on to the Mayors for Guaranteed Income. And is that something that you want to touch on a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. So we have, we suffer under, to some degree, tyranny of two executives. So unfortunately, our Mayor Bowser has never been a supporter of guaranteed income. We launched a multi-year petition to get her to join Mayors for Guaranteed Income, which she has not done. We also advocated for the creation of a publicly funded pilot or set of pilots. A pilot was created, a publicly funded pilot. However, that was never acknowledged as a guaranteed income pilot, although it's a very powerful one, and it was also eliminated. Funding for that was eliminated from the budget for FY26. And of course, in DC, we have this unique structure where, although the Home Rule Act of 1973 has given us a locally elected council and mayor, extremists in Congress have proposed dozens and dozens of bills and are now trying to, essentially, there's been a bill proposed to eliminate our locally elected council and mayor. So we are fighting on two levels to get support from our local mayor, our local executive, and also, really struggling to maintain autonomy as a city. So those have been unique challenges that we faced and that we're determined to fight against.
Thank you. And y'all, this work isn't free. It needs to be funded, right? Someone said it really beautifully yesterday, freedom needs to be funded. And so I'll turn to you, Tonia. The Greater Washington Community Foundation has been an integral supporter and funder of Guaranteed Income Pilots programs across the DMV. Can you share more about why was it important for the foundation to continue investing in Guaranteed Income Pilots, and also what are some lessons that you've learned along the way?
Thank you very much. So we started contemplating cash transfer work even before we got to Guaranteed Income Pilots in 2019, during one of the longest federal government shutdowns in history, and that was in 2019. Trump won. The government was closed for 34 days. And we started trying to figure out then, because it wasn't a real thing in the DC area until then, but we really needed to get money in people's hands. And it was a lot of federal workers, and again, this pales in comparison to what's happening now, but that was the impetus for institutional philanthropy to begin even having conversations on what it would look like to move beyond providing resources to food distribution networks, or even giving gift cards. Like, that was the most that we used to do just 6 years ago. And then I think all of that organizing really helped us, or trying to understand what it would look like to be involved from a philanthropic perspective in cash transfers really took hold in COVID. Our foundation probably moved upwards of $100 million in cash transfers through the course of during the first 2 years of COVID, and we did it largely in partnership with government. To their credit, they get some things wrong, and they got this one right. So it was in partnership with government. It was in partnership with other donors and philanthropic partners, and including individual donors, to shared funds that were shared pooled funds that were housed at the Community Foundation. And so we were able to move those resources through nonprofit networks quickly. We organized relationships with, I think it was a relationship through MasterCard, which was a real big partner. I think Uzio was the subcontractor. I don't know if these names are familiar with you all. Oh, are you here? Oh, awesome. Was a fantastic partner in helping us to figure out how to get these things organized very quickly. And we supported people, moving resources directly to the hands of people who needed it the most, when they needed it the most. And it was that work that set us up for Let's Go DMV, there are probably, I was trying to get the count right in my head, there are probably about 8 guaranteed income pilots across the region that our community foundation is invested in. Quick note on why. It's all the things that led up to it, but we also put in place a strategic plan that has us laser focused on increasing economic mobility and addressing the racial wealth gap in this region as part of our strategy. And so I'm pretty excited because we've built in guaranteed income as a priority for our foundation as one of many tools that can help people move from crisis to thriving. Funded almost we've participated in either direct funding almost every pilot in the region, or supporting like the evaluation elements of a pilot if we didn't put money directly into the cash transfer work. So I'm super proud of it. You all should, we can clap there. Yeah, I'm excited. Here's the other thing. I appreciate, Melody, you mentioned teasing out the story with high net worth individuals or in wealthy parts of town. We just had a really big event last night where, in community foundations, our donors, it's typically individual donors who are contributing to, parts of our strategy. And we've seen an overwhelming positive response from high net worth people because they understand that wages have not kept pace with the cost of living, especially in Washington, D.C. And they recognize income inequality, wealth inequity. I mean, if you move beyond headlines and talk about real people who are having, who are struggling to make ends meet. And one accident, one medical situation, et cetera, can throw you back. People get it. They're putting their money towards it. I mean, that's the thing I want you all to appreciate. So it's tricky for philanthropy to focus on all things at the same time. And you're right. In the immediate period after COVID, we were laser focused because we were trying to support the social safety net. I do believe that another wave is coming where we're going to have to re-engage with guaranteed income at a much a more massive scale. But for now, we're staying the course, and we're doing our best to encourage other foundations, funders, individual donors to do the same. So thank you.
Thank you, Tonia. Right, and we know that when there isn't funding, right, and when government resources are dwindling like they are right now, people don't stop needing support, right? But we organize. And I'm seeing local communities, organizations, shout out to Rock DC again for the work that they continue to do to fill in the gap of care, joy, and safety for folks. And that's personally giving me energy and joy around what we're able to build together anyway. So my closing question, and I'll start with Margarita. Despite the challenges of our times and what's happening right now, what's giving you hope in what is happening in your community, and how do you think that people in this room can get involved here or in their own communities when they go back home?
Pues acerca de lo que está pasando es lamentable todo, porque somos afectados de una forma u otra, pero a la vez pues uno se involucra más y sientes la necesidad de ayudar al que lo necesita, ¿verdad? Muchos de los que están aquí posiblemente tienen la posibilidad más que yo podría decirse, pero sí se puede hacer y invitar a mantenerse para lograrlo.
Well, what's happening now is really sad because all of us are affected in one way or another. But we need to be involved and to do what's needed. All of you who are here means there is a possibility that we can do it, that we can achieve it.
And I'll go to Tonia, so we'll just go down the line.
So I think we're all holding some tension between what we're experiencing now as a country, and for us, it's as a country and as a region, as federal policy is happening in our backyard and front yard, and also considering what the future holds. So there is this chain of this theory that if the systems that currently exist were not designed to support people, particularly low-income people, people of color, immigrant communities, black and brown communities, then if there's time and space to envision a future and work on strategies, systems, and design, or redesign, there is a window or possibility for hope, right? So we are, unfortunately, in a very cruel and unusual way, ripping out, destroying, setting afire, setting ablaze existing systems and the social safety net. And if we are to really think about the future we want, is the opportunity to redesign. The other piece that gives me hope is, again, it's what I alluded to earlier. I think that the work of all of your work in the pilots that you are running, implementing around the country, are going to be a lesson for what it looks like when this is going to be needed at scale. We've learned a lot about how to disperse to specific demographics across geographies, what dosages are the right dosages, how much money over what period of time. I think this is all going to be very instructive for us for the time when white-collar jobs are replaced through technology, and the conversation is going to be elevated and positioned in a very different way.
So as you alluded to, Roe, what's giving me hope is that people are organizing around a number of different issues. This is causing people to think about their values and to articulate them, and they're talking to their neighbors, and we know dozens and dozens and hundreds and millions of people are actually organizing. And so I actually have great hope for guaranteed income, because it does require organizing, and it does require us tapping into our values. I'm also hopeful and so appreciative of the Greater Washington Community Foundation, and so glad. What gives me hope is that this foundation, every single pilot in the region has been touched by, funded directly by the foundation, and I just want to say thank y'all are a model. You fund our pilot, you fund other pilots, and I'm not just saying that because you do, because I think we need to have philanthropy and those who have deep pockets to support efforts like this. We have to stay vigilant and supportive of guaranteed income as we weather the times we're in. So, thank you.
Thank you. And I'll close out by sharing my personal take, too, around how folks can get involved. With Let's Go DMV, we have a saying. We say, Let's Go DMV creates space for workers to rest, dream, and build their own and collective power. So my invitation to you is for tonight, and also when you're heading back home or wherever you're going to, are you rested enough? What are you dreaming up? And what are you building in service of this movement? So are you rested? Are you creating space for you to dream? Big, right? We are at big, right? And finally, how are you building in service of this movement? And there's a QR code up there of resources from advocacy partners of Let's Go DMV, specifically the DC Guaranteed Income Coalition and Rock DC. You'll find resources around what they're working on. And also you can visit our website as well if you want any information. We won't have time for questions, but I will be around if anyone has questions after the panel. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Margarita, again for sharing, and Tonia and Melody.